judge in Tucson issued an injunction halting the deportation of 69 Guatemalan and Honduran children who arrived at the border by themselves. The Florence Immigrant and Refugee Rights Project is an Arizona-based nonprofit that represents more than 600 children across the state. They brought the case accusing the Trump administration of violating the children's rights.
The government was attempting to bypass due process by returning children in the middle of the night.
Roxana Avila Campanu with the Florence Project says many of the children fear being sent back into danger. The group is urging the government to let them present their cases with access to legal counsel.
We are taking action to make sure that these children are protected and that children are not being removed to places where they may face danger.
Although the government argued the children were being reunited with their parents, the judge ruled there was no evidence of any real coordination with families abroad. The Florence Project says it supports reunifying children with their parents, even if that means returning them home, but only if their safety is guaranteed.
The children we work with do have somebody who they had planned to come and reunite with. Again, the issue is that the government, under the guise of child welfare, saying that they're doing this to protect the children, is making it so hard and doing things like detaining parents.
She says while this ruling is a win for immigrant children, there is still a long road ahead to ensure their safety and rights are protected. U.S. Customs and Border Protection reports that about 28,000 unaccompanied children have crossed the border so far this year, down sharply from the 109,000 from last year. Reporting in Yuma, Alexandra Rangel, Arizona's Family.